The year was 1202, and the Mongol tribes were at a turning point. Two powerful leaders, Temüjin Khan and Genghis, were rivals, each seeking control over the Mongols. Temüjin was already a radical leader, and he was about to introduce even more changes that would reshape Mongol society forever. A new way of fighting. 1 year after Temüjin defeated the Tyrant tribe, an aging Mongol leader, Genghis Khan, sent him on a campaign to attack the Tartars again. By now, Temüjin had grown into a wise and skilled leader, and he introduced new rules for warfare. Traditionally, Mongol raids were chaotic. Warriors would rush into enemy camps, trying to grab whatever they could. This often led to disorder, making the raiders vulnerable to counterattacks. Temüjin realized that this method weakened his army. He decided to change the way battles were fought. He declared that no one could loot until the enemy was completely defeated. After victory, all goods were to be collected and fairly distributed among his followers. He used a system similar to how hunters shared their game. He also made sure that widows and orphans from battles received a portion of the spoils, so no Mongol family would suffer like his mother had when his father was killed. These changes earned him the loyalty of the poor and common warriors, who now knew they would be taken care of if they died in battle. However, some wealthy Mongols disliked this new system because it took away their power to distribute rewards as they pleased. But Temüjin believed it was a worthy trade-off. By centralizing power and ensuring loyalty, he strengthened his rule. This strategy worked. Temüjin defeated the Tartars once again, and because the looting was organized, his army gathered more wealth than ever before. A difficult decision. However, there was now a new problem. In the past, Temüjin's forces would kill enemy leaders and integrate the rest of the people into his tribe. This had worked for small clans, but the Tartars were thousands in number. If Temüjin truly wanted to unite the steppe tribes under one rule, he needed a new solution. He called a great meeting, known as a kurultai, to discuss what to do. The decision they reached was harsh but effective. They gathered all the Tartar men and made them walk past a cart. Any man taller than the linchpin, the small part holding the wheels, was executed. The remaining men and their families were accepted as full members of Temüjin's tribe. Temüjin himself adopted a Tartar orphan and took 2 Tartar noblewomen as wives, breaking old traditions. Temüjin knew that if he wanted to unite the Mongols permanently, he needed to go even further. He had to change the way the Mongol tribes were organized. Until then, Mongols had always fought in family groups, which kept their loyalties divided. To create a stronger army, Temüjin broke these ancient traditions. He divided his soldiers into groups of 10. Each group had to live, train, and fight together, no matter their tribal background. 10 of these groups formed a company of 100 men, and 10 companies made up a battalion of 1,000. While the smallest groups could choose their leaders, Temüjin personally selected the commanders of the larger units, ensuring loyalty to him above all else. Beyond the warriors, everyone in the tribe had to contribute. Some tended to the herds, others cooked, repaired weapons, or entertained the troops with music. There were no more separate classes or noble lineages. Everyone worked for the benefit of the tribe, and everyone shared in its success. Finally, Temüjin established a sacred homeland for the Mongols, a place where outsiders were forbidden. He chose the site where he had once hidden from the Merkit tribe as a young boy. This land became the spiritual center of the new Mongol identity, betrayal and revenge. By now, Temüjin controlled most of the Mongols, but his greatest rival, Genghis, still stood against him. At the same time, Genghis Khan, the old Mongol leader, was aging, and it was unclear who would succeed him. Hoping to secure his position, Temüjin proposed a marriage between his eldest son, Joki, and Genghis Khan's daughter. Genghis Khan's son, who had no real power of his own, grew jealous and convinced his father to reject the proposal. This was a major insult. Knowing that Temüjin might respond with force, Ong Khan came up with a trick. He sent a message to Temüjin, pretending that he had changed his mind and inviting him to a wedding celebration. Believing he was about to be recognized as Ong Khan's heir, Temüjin set out with only a small group of men. But just one day before he arrived, an ally warned him of a trap. Ong Khan had gathered an army to kill him. Temüjin was outnumbered, far from his main forces, and in grave danger. He ordered his small group to scatter and fled into exile. It was a crushing moment for him. His people were leaderless, and he had lost everything he had built. But he did not give up. A stunning comeback. Temüjin quickly sent messages to his scattered followers, telling them to regroup. Miraculously, they did. Tens of thousands of Mongols, despite being separated from their leader, followed his orders and assembled into a powerful army. This was the true test of Temüjin's new system. His disciplined soldiers remained loyal, even in the face of disaster. Ong Khan, believing himself victorious, was celebrating in his grand tent when Temüjin's army suddenly appeared. His soldiers had been traveling night and day, with fresh horses waiting for them along the way. They surrounded Ong Khan's camp in the dead of night and launched a surprise attack. Ong Khan and Genghis fled. While Genghis managed to reach safety, Ong Khan was stopped by border guards. Too old and ragged to be recognized, he was killed. With Ong Khan gone, Temüjin turned his attention to the Naiman, the last great tribe still opposing him. Genghis had taken refuge with them, and now, the final battle for control of Mongolia was about to begin. The final battle. Temüjin's new army organization was about to be tested in a full-scale battle. His warriors moved silently before dawn, launching surprise attacks and then disappearing, confusing the enemy. They struck quickly and withdrew before the Naiman could react. After hours of this strategy, Temüjin's forces switched tactics. They lined up in formation, firing arrows before retreating behind a second wave of archers. The Naiman, trying to counter this, spread their army thin. Temüjin then changed formation again, concentrating his forces into a strong wedge that broke through the weakened enemy lines. The battle ended in total victory. Genghis fled once more, hiding in the forest like Temüjin had once done as a child. But this time, he had no future. His own followers betrayed him and delivered him to Temüjin. Knowing his fate was sealed, Genghis requested an honorable death. Temüjin granted it. The rise of Genghis Khan. At last, after years of struggle, Temüjin had won. He had defeated his enemies, united the Mongol tribes, and built a powerful army that followed him loyally. Soon, he would take a new title, Genghis Khan, ruler of all Mongols. And from that moment, history would never be the same.